Best case scenario, obviously, would be Miguel Rojas somehow hits into a triple play. But that's probably asking for a bit much. They come in again. Ball grounded right to Machado. Steps on the back for one. To second. On to first. A triple play.
And what is that, America? Let me hear it. Let me hear the music around the horn.
Triple play.
What a way to clinch a playoff. Every time an Around the Horn clinches the playoff, a panelist gets a bonus. Let's go around the horn. Yes.
Somebody asked Jesse Agler what the Powerball number.
What a great call. Agler. Well, that's great. I would love to start the show with that. We start with a story, a situation previously unseen before in college football. You got to listen to this. The number 23 team in the country now going to have to go to a new quarterback for the rest of the season. Here's the post late night from former quarterback Matthew Sluka. I've decided to utilize my redshirt year, will not be playing in any additional games. I committed to UNLV based on certain representations that were made to me, which were not upheld after I enrolled. Despite discussions, it became clear that these commitments would not be fulfilled in the future. I wish my teammates the best of luck. Pete Thamel reporting that Sluka's NIL representation says it was a verbal agreement with a UNLV assistant coach for a minimum of $100,000. $3,000 has been paid. Ross Dellinger of Yahoo reporting that the CEO of the collective says the collective never agreed to a $100,000 deal. A report from Paloma Villacana, Fox 5 Vegas. Sluka's been approached with more money to transfer by an unknown school. UNLV today saying in a statement they interpreted Sluka's demands as a violation of pay-for-play rules as well as Nevada state rules. So, we've got multiple reports here. We've got wild rumors. We'll let those rumors remain rumors. Kevin Clark, a mess for sure. What is within rights for both player and program?
Like with most things in the system the NCAA has set up, everybody comes away from a situation looking bad. The reason is nobody is in charge. There's no recourse here. There's nobody to appeal to. It just becomes a mess immediately. That's the world the NCAA has built over the last 4 years because they had 125 years to get ready for this situation and they wasted it. That's the state of play right now. It is a he said thing as far as the offensive coordinator and the collective. I think that those two things need to be aligned. The coaching staff and the collective on the best teams in the country have alignment. They have communication. Doesn't sound like that was the case here. There probably should have been a signed agreement. I understand that part. But no other top 25 quarterback in the country is working for free. I can assure you of that. So that's what's going on right now is maybe there was a renegotiation period because they were trying to get that $100,000 that was promised. I don't know. But everybody's ended up looking bad because it's been a business for 100 years for everybody but the players. Now the players get to be involved and the system is collapsing upon itself. That's the world the NCAA built, and that's why we're in this mess.
Noted, and I think the panel would agree. For it to be happening mid-season right now, and again, the reports are no written agreement or contract in place, who's within their right here, Kevin Clark?
If a player transferred, which he did, from Holy Cross to UNLV, on the assumption, and again, he should have gotten it in writing, on the assumption he was going to get six figures in money and he didn't get any, it is well within his rights to say, no deal, I'm out of here.
Justin
that
Tinsley?
is fine. Until you have collective bargaining agreement and contracts, you can do
I hear you. I wonder if everyone agrees with that midseason. Justin Tinsley, please.
Yeah, I mean, this is a certain type of show. It's a blank show. I can't say the first word in it because of FCC regulations. But look, the lesson in this is our parents taught us don't break a promise because you can't control how the other party reacts. And this is exactly what happened. You know, a lot of people say, what happened to loyalty in college football? Well, loyalty never existed. Now it's just becoming more of the business that it's always been. And in business, murky things happen as we're seeing. Now, I will say this. If I feel bad for anybody in this, it is the teammates. It is his teammates. They started the season off 3-0. Tony, this is the best start for UNLV since the Jimmy Carter administration in 1976. This was supposed to be the peak season of their football careers, and now you lose your starting quarterback. But the egg is on UNLV's face because obviously some sort of agreement was made here. They promised money. They haven't been paid yet. They promised commitments, and it hasn't happened. This is all going to fall back on UNLV for bad business practices. And honestly, in this day and age in college sports, you can't get the benefits off the field if you're not providing the benefits off the field, on the field and off the field.
Just to recap, you said the rule it is don't break a promise. Who were you applying that to? The alleged assistant coach who said something, or to the player who promised to play for the school? Who were you?
Well, the only reason the player promised to play for the school because he was allegedly promised $100,000.
So you're applying that to the school. Okay, David Dennis
Yes.
Jr., I turn to you now.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of conversation in the macro here in the next few days about NIL and hand-wringing about the state of college football. But what often gets lost in situations like this is the person who stands to lose the most and the person who actually did lose the most, which is Sluka himself. This kid is now going to have to redshirt and miss the entire season because of something that's either a miscommunication or an outright lie based on what he says that he was promised or what he expected going into that school. This is a kid who now has to deal with the repercussions of something that went awry as part of the NIL. He's going to lose the senior year of the rest of this season, and who knows what is going to happen to him beyond that. Is the team going to pick him up? Are there going to be people who look at him as somebody who bucked the NIL system in college and say, I don't want anything to do with him? He is putting substantial risk in his career because he's standing up for a belief that he is owed something that at some point in the process he felt like he should get. And I think often when we have these conversations, we lose sight of that individual and what they have to gain or lose in these situations.
He also, by the way, is an older player, right? This is not some mercenary who said, this is my chance right away, I'm going to make money. He played for 4 years and then saw an opportunity to earn an income based on a skill set that probably is limited to a short window because he's not an NFL prospect. What strikes me the most about this, and it feels inevitable because the industry has zero oversight, as everybody has said, Tony, is how little money is involved. Whether it's $3,000 or $100,000, it is not a lot of money for a team that was looking at a massive program, that was looking at a massive opportunity to make it into the playoffs. And what that tells me, the fact that they balked at that, whether it was promised or not, they ultimately decided not to give it to him at some point, is they thought he would not walk. And this decision by Sluka to do so, and he won't be the last, as everybody has said, to me sends a powerful message to this entire unregulated industry. The dynamic has shifted. If any other program tries to pull this again, and we don't know again what this is, and it's a matter of dispute, another player will walk just as he did.
There's rumors out there. There's also a lot of heat out there blaming Sluka for being a terrible teammate or blaming UNLV for being a program that doesn't do it. You guys see it as the program here. And this is amazing to me that this is not written. There's no contracts here, that this was just a verbal agreement. Shouldn't there not be a rule here that these have to be contracted with written word here, Kevin Clark?
Unfortunately, there are no rules because, remember, we're not supposed to do pay-for-play. That's why they're in courts, all this stuff. So if you're trying to rein in a lawless system, it cannot start with these sort of rules. It starts in the courtrooms, it starts with collective bargaining. That has to be the next step.
Thanks for your thoughts on that. We've been Horn. We'll move on to an NFL story, and it's Mike Tomlin on the starting quarterback position for his team. Here's his thoughts on Justin Fields being named starter.
What more do you need to see from Justin? Why not name him the starting quarterback going forward?
Because there's no need. When Russ gets to an appropriate point of health and we have a decision to make, I'll make it and I'll announce it and I'll be really transparent about it. But until then, I don't care how many ways you guys ask me, I got no intentions of making the decision that's unnecessary at this juncture.
Mina Kimes, how do you hear Tomlin there? What's he saying and what's he not saying?
Yeah, I won't question Mike Tomlin's sort of lack of transparency on this because that man has probably more experience managing locker rooms than anyone else in the NFL with difficult situations, shall we to say. So he has earned the benefit of the doubt. I will quibble, however, if he actually does plan on going away from Justin Fields to Wilson. I don't think he does, to be clear. But it would be a wrong decision because at this point, Fields, to me, should be the undisputed starter. What he has done through the first 3 weeks of season, averaging his lowest time to throw, his lowest interception rate, hit the highest completion percentage of his career, shows me a quarterback who has developed. And he's done it, by the way, with a terrible run game. They're 25th in rushing DVOA. So I think he has earned this job, and I would be shocked if it's taken away from him.
David, how did you hear Tomlin there?
Yeah, I hear Mike Tomlin as somebody who understands that he may have to do some shifting of these quarterbacks at some point because, the Steelers, even though they are 3-0, they're the fewest points by a 3-0 team that we've had in 20 years. So Justin Fields is one terrible game away from him maybe having to make a consideration. Maybe Russell Wilson will have to come in, and maybe Russell Wilson gets hurt or he plays bad and Justin Fields comes back in. So he has to deal with the psyche and the ego of both of these players at the same time. And one way to avoid benching a starter is not naming a starter in the first place. So you can have a fluid situation and have both of these guys feel like they have equal opportunity as to lead this team.
Justin Tinsley, how'd you hear Tomlin?
Mike Tomlin hasn't had a true dominant number one quarterback in over a decade, and he still hasn't had a losing season. So I'm not critiquing his quarterback decisions. What I heard is this is leverage for possible future decisions, as David just said. But over the next 5 weeks, they have the Colts, they have the Cowboys, they have the Raiders, and both New York teams. We'll know a lot about that Pittsburgh quarterback situation over the next month and a half. So I honestly applaud Mike Tomlin for exercising caution in this.
And Kevin Clark?
First of all, if you're looking at Mike Tomlin press conferences for clarity, you're rarely going to find it. This guy knows how to not answer a question. He's been doing it for a long time. I'll start here. The number one rule of this team, David mentioned how bad the offense has been as far as scoring. Well, the defense is up to its best performance by points scored for 3 games in 35 years. That is, when you think about Pittsburgh and how dominant their defense has been, that's really good. And I think at the quarterback position right now, the number one rule is do no harm. Let the defense win the game, score a couple of times, and right now, Justin Fields is getting better at throwing over the middle of the field. We saw that last week. He has a ceiling that Russell Wilson doesn't have. We were worried about the floor, and it's higher right now than Russell Wilson. So I don't know what Russell Wilson would possibly give you. I would stick with Justin Fields.
You say score a few times offensively. That's barely. David gave us the stat. They have 3 touchdowns in 3 games.
I don't think Russell Wilson's going to help. I don't think it's going to help.
They certainly have practice with this. He made the playoffs last year with 3 quarterbacks. That must be a tougher trick to try to make the playoffs with 1 quarterback, but the way Pittsburgh has been the last few years. Taking a break here. Let's try to get some answers to questions in buy or sell.
Welcome back to Around the Horn, coming to you from the Seaport, brought to you by Chase.
Ending the dream, but keeping the dream going. Anybody? The Liberty. Sabrina Ionescu and Jonquel Jones, force of will games to slowly take over and eliminate Atlanta. Surviving the storm and chasing a new one. Anybody? People? The Aces. Asia Wilson, Kelsey Plum, ditto on the force of will, refusing any other outcome. 3-peat quest rolls on, and now your semifinal matchup is the finals rematch. New York, Las Vegas. David, around the horn to you. Who should feel better going in?
First of all, I want to address something from last night. Sabrina Ionescu said that Spike Lee gave her a high five and she felt like a real New Yorker. You want to feel like a real New Yorker? You get a high five from Tony Reali when he's at the game. That's what you do. Second of all, the person who I feel the best about, the team I feel the best about are the Aces. They finally, after the last few weeks, look like the Aces, and a lot of that goes back to Chelsea Gray, who looks like the point guard again. She brought them back in the second quarter in game 1. She's dropping dimes all over the court. They look like the championship team for the first time this season.
Who would you rather be going in? You'd rather be the defending 2-time champion, not the 1 seed. Justin Tinsley, how about you?
They entered the season as not the top seed. They have specialists all over the floor and a generational talent in the middle. Hear me out on this, Tony. I think the 2024 Aces are the 1995 Houston Rockets, and that's why I'm going with them. They look really good. They're playing really good ball right now, as David just said. And honestly, they held the Seattle Storm to 27% shooting on contested field goals. If and when the Aces win this series, it will be because of their defense.
Are you suggesting, Justin, that you should never underestimate the heart of a champion?
Yes.
All right. Kevin Clark, how about you?
This has not been a vintage Aces team, but over the past couple of weeks, this is a basketball term, they've locked in. Becky Hammond says over the last 3 weeks, they've been able to get their edge back. She said that she thought the Liberty had the edge the entire season, their edge the entire season. It's changed maybe in the last few weeks. You saw Kelsey Plum maybe scream a little bit at courtside fans. If she does that to Pablo Torre in this series, the Aces roll.
All right, so that's 3 now who like the Aces going into this matchup. with the Liberty, who again had the best record all season long.
Uh-oh.
Go ahead, Mina Kimes. Make it a clean sweep. Let me hear it.
I'm going to make it 4, picking against the 1 seed. I hate this, but I believe it, and I have to go with my heart because the Aces are playing like the 1 seed. I mean, the Liberty swept them in the regular season, but they didn't have Aja Wilson for one of those games. They didn't have Chelsea Gray for one of those same games. As David said, Gray in particular has really turned things around. The entire team turned things around going 9-1 to end the season, and they're so deep. On any given night, a different contributor can take over the game the way Kelsey Plum did. How can you not pick this team?
That jacket's very plump. I see where you're going there. All right, so record set there. Clean sweep there. Everybody likes the 2-time defending champ going for a three-peat. There's a lot to like there.
Sorry,
and not
Vegas.
the New York Liberty, who had the #1 record basically all season long. We'll move on. Astros, Orioles, and Padres clinching the playoffs last night. But nobody clinched it like the Padres. And around the horn triple play here to keep Shohei Ohtani on deck, by the way, and to beat your rivals, and awesome. Gradually, then suddenly, if it was in one play. And by the way, gradually, then suddenly, NL West is up for grabs with San Diego. Can they catch LA? Justin, who's clinched when you consider also the Orioles, yes, as we just said, and the Astros, most significant?
It feels sacrilegious to go against that triple play, but I got to go against Baltimore because they army crawled into the playoffs. If any team needed a hard reset to go into the playoffs with their record 0-0, it's this Baltimore team. Because remember, they are very talented, and they just needed a reset and a change of scenery, which is the playoffs, and they got it.
Okay, so that's the most significant clinch?
To me, yes.
Kevin Clark, most significant clinch?
I'm going Baltimore, too. Reason being, it's the first time they've had back-to-back playoff appearances since 1997. My former colleague, Mallory Rubin, said the last time that she was a huge Orioles fan, she was 11 years old. And now we're all washed. So that's all you need to know about that.
I would love to give Mallory Rubin the points then, which he's not around the horn.
It's the first 3-game winning streak at Yankee Stadium since 2012. This is a different Orioles team. They were able to weather the storm. I like them to win. It makes me
I got to go with the Padres, not just because they honored the show in spectacular fashion, but we're talking about a team that was 50-49 at the All-Star break, a team that everyone thought was going to dominate last year. They lose Soto and Hader. They miss the playoffs, and then this year they fight their way back. It's a cool story, and I loved how they clinched it.
David Dennis Jr.
I'm with Mina here. It's a triple play to clinch the playoffs. We have not seen that before. And also, what's also important is about the team that they did it against, that Dodgers team, who they were 8-3 against that squad. They've eliminated them in the past. They're creeping up. They're sort of a scary competitor for that Dodger squad. It's got to be the Padres.
There we go. Tinsley and Clark, thank you for your time today. It's a Kimes-Dennis showdown. Next. Mina Kimes, David Dennis Jr., good luck in showdown. Sun fever, which sounds like an affliction from the Oregon Trail. Connecticut looks to close it out tonight. Indiana needs it, needs more from everybody, and that starts with Caitlin Clark after her struggle in Game 1. Let's see if either of you have her numbers this year versus Connecticut, versus DiJonai Carrington and DeWanna Bonner defensively. Mina, bounce back tonight for Clark. Could this series go 3, or do you have Connecticut closing it out tonight?
I think they do bounce back because that was an uncharacteristic shooting performance for this team, particularly from 3, going 6 for 28. This was the best shooting team in the WNBA during the season. I understand the Suns' defense is very good. I just think that the Fever will shoot better.
David Dennis Jr.
The Connecticut Sun are winning tonight behind that defense of DeWanna Bauer and newly minted most improved player DiJonai Carrington. They're going to make the Indiana Fever feel like they tried to ford the river and their oxen died. It's an Oregon Trail reference.
All right, the reference I made earlier. I'm just focused on Bonner. Clark versus Bonner in Game 1. She was 0-for when that matchup was there, and we know what Carrington did to Clark in the regular season, head-to-head. Tough defensive matchup. We'll give Dennis the point. Showdown 2. Pittsburgh Pirates, this is the story here. Cutting Rowdy Tellez, 4 plate appearances shy of the bonus. Per Tellez's contract with the team, 425 plate appearances would have been a $200,000 bonus. He's at 421, but the team says no, and they said the contract bonus had nothing to do with the designation here. Tellez has had a cold year. He's hitting 116 in September after hitting 300 in August. Mina, what is this?
Miserly? I mean, it's not a good look. It would be one thing if this was a team in playoff contention and look, he's not hitting well, but they're out of it. There was no reason for them to do this to a fan favorite. I don't think people around the league are going to look kindly on this.
David Dennis Jr.
Even though I don't quite know what miserly means, I'm going to agree with Mina here. This is bad business. A fan favorite, just so close to getting that bonus. You got to keep him around as long as you can to get him what he needs.
Miserly is a great word. Miserly is a 2-point word, and that means FaceTime. Going to Mina Kimes.
All right. I want to talk about Anna Wolf. You might remember her as a Mississippi Today reporter who won a Pulitzer Prize for her incredible journalism on a welfare scandal in her state involving former NFL quarterback Brett Favre and former Governor Phil Bryant. Well, Bryant is now suing her for defamation, trying to get her to reveal her sources. Jail time is on the table. Anyone who cares about investigative journalism should check out an excellent story by Mark Finer-Iwata about this case on ESPN.com right now. It is an absolute must-read.
We were talking as we sat down. Kevin Clark, that would be your FaceTime if you would have won today. You feel strongly about this, too.
Absolutely. Journalism is not a crime. This is a great story, and I'm glad ESPN published it.
Finer-Iwata and his brother, reporting on the Balco scandal a decade plus ago, also faced a similar, go to jail if you reveal your sources. They stood strong, and we're watching this. Thank you for your thoughts on Wolf. 23.5-hour break. We'll see you guys tomorrow around the horn.